Hello, and welcome to the Crypto Morning News. I am your host, Taylor Schrum. And why aren't we seeing prices surge, explode higher? We're not seeing it. And a lot of folks are wondering why. There is a very clear answer. It is unfortunately very clear why prices are not surging to the upside. We'll get to that in just a moment, but I want to take you into the live price for Bitcoin here. Currently at 102,558. You can see that this weekly candle here is still printing above the this line here, and it is also this is our awesome indicator flow signals. You can get access to this for free when you sign up for membership in the Tim Warren Trading Discord. But over here on the simple moving average, you can see that Bitcoin is fighting. This weekly candle is fighting to print above the 50-day moving average. This is the line that has not been crossed on the weekly chart, going all the way back to the bear market of 2023. It was last crossed back here March 13th, 2023. And so it would be nice for investor confidence to see another weekly candle close above this 50-day moving average. I'm not going to sit here and say that it would be the end of the bull market if we were to close on this, but that would not give investors confidence in future price action to the upside for Bitcoin. Now, we have 3 days and 9 hours before this weekly candle closes, so it is what it is. We're going to continue to monitor it. If you are interested in a more zoomed in picture and analysis on the Bitcoin charts, maybe you want to look at the daily chart, or maybe you want to look at the 4-hour chart. I encourage you to join our Discord where we talk about the lower time frames and how to trade Bitcoin day in and day out. That's what we discuss in that Discord. We have a lot of fun doing it in the meantime. Now, let's get into the sentiment. Fed Reserve rains on bulls just when the government opened back up, out of the frying pan and into the fire. Fear and greed index 15 out of 100. That is extreme fear. Not quite single digits, but it is extreme fear for sure. So let's keep moving here. There is also major focus here. The chance of a rate cut in December falls to 56% from 71% yesterday. That is the main focus for today. That's why it's got that gold star. But before we get into why the market is not pumping today, let's talk about why it should have been pumping today. And that is President Donald Trump signs the bill officially ending the U.S. government shutdown. Now, that's good. There's also an asterisk on that one, which is that January 30th, I believe, or January 20th or 30th, late January, they're going to have to come back to the table. Congress and the Senate are going to have to come back to the table and try to figure things out again. They're going to have to politic. They're going to have to do what they get paid to do and do so poorly. We'll see what happens later in January. But in the meantime, the good news has been deafened out by the bad news. Let's go take a look at it here. This is the current spread on Polymarket for the December rate cut odds. And as you can see here, there was a shelf that fell off here. We were trending at 71% for that 25 basis point cut. And then all of a sudden, we are now at to live 56% likely to see that. Now, this can change. And a couple of things I want to point out on this is that just because it's pessimistic now doesn't mean that it can't, regain its optimism later on. I'll show you all a tweet of why exactly the granularity of why the odds have changed on this. But just as quickly as they change, they can change back, right? And they can go back above 60. The other thing I'll point out is 55, right? 56 right now is the number, the likelihood of the 25 basis point cut. 50, 55, 56, that is not 49, 48, right? So it's still more likely than not. I don't think we got down below 50. Yeah, no, the lowest we got was 54. So it's still more likely than not that we will get a cut. But let me take you into why, the granularity, the why behind what we're seeing and why we're seeing it here. So this is Fed Daily speaking, and then the Fed Collins spoke yesterday. Fed Daily said this morning, really think there is a premium on waiting to decide on rates until you have as much information. So what does that mean? Well, just to break it down for you, There's my little obligatory morning sneeze there. To break it down for you, what Fed Dally is saying here is going to resonate with the next quote that we read from Collins. But essentially, the Federal Reserve is a very cautious institution. They like to go very slowly, especially under a chair like Jerome Powell. I'm not going to pontificate on this too long because we can keep this binary. We can keep this the 1 or 0. Are they going to do it or are they going to not? But Fed Dally's granular words here seem to indicate that they may be comfortable waiting to pause in December because of the government shutdown's inability to print new information on the inflation side and on the employment side. They don't want to cut if they're flying blind. That's at least the sentiment here from Fed's Dally. Fed Collins said yesterday, there should be a high bar for further easing by the Federal Reserve in the months ahead, projecting that the Fed should likely keep policy rates at the current level for some time. Okay, so these two quotations together have sent the likelihood of a cut in December down to 56. Still more likely than not, but it is not 71. It is not that high level of certainty that we had in September and going into October as well. So that's going to have to be digested in through the market. The market has been, the New York equities market's been open for a little more than 30 minutes now, and the S&P is down 0.5. The Qs are down 0.7. So Tesla is down 3.7. So that's quite a bit of a shed there for Tesla. Actually getting down, I'll show you the screen I'm looking at here. Tesla actually getting down here below. It still hasn't closed below this candlestick back here on the 4-hour, but there is a gap back here that would put it back down to $395 per share there for Tesla. There's also a gap down here as well, down to $338 per share. So could see some serious correction there for Tesla. We'll have to just wait and see. But equities are not trending back to the upside. Let's take a live look here at some other names. Google down 2.6% here. I'm on the 4-hour still with some SMAs and volume indicators showing here. If I go and look at Amazon, it's down 0.5%, coming back and testing the top range of this channel that it was trading in for much of the summer and into the fall. Now it's coming back and testing the support and seeing if it can keep that support, or if, like back here, it's going to have to dip down and then before it can resume to the upside. So that's Amazon down 0.5. Tesla, we already talked about, down almost 4%. Nvidia down 2.4%. Keeping in mind that one of its institutional investors, SoftBank, sold its entire position in Nvidia this week. So Nvidia could be in a different world. It could be, south of 160 at this point with that kind of headline. It is not, right? So it's holding on to a lot of the gains that we saw in 2025 so far. It is just giving back some of those frothy gains. And a lot of investors are curious, what comes next? Is this going to be some support that's found? Is there potentially a pennant that's forming here that could potentially break bullish sometime in the future? Or will this break down to the downside and give other asset classes some relief as some of the trillions leak out of NVIDIA and go find a home in some other risk names? That is what we want to see as crypto investors, right? We want to see the equities become less attractive, start to sell off in the same way that we want to see gold sell off and rotate into crypto. All right, AMD down 1.1% there. So the equities are down. Microsoft is not. Microsoft is up 0.2, Apple's up 0.3, and Meta is making some progress on this insane drop that it's had here from back here on October 29th to the live price. It shed almost 20%, 18.3 to live price. So it's trying to make some progress on that. Now, I will say I picked up some Meta. I picked it up right around here at 640. So I'm happy to see this start to round the bottom and make a move back to the upside. If I had to buy a Mag 7 today, it would probably be Meta. All right, but that is the stocks. Taking a look at crypto here, Chainlink is up 2.5%. Cardano is up 3.1%. Okay, AVAX up 2%. Let's see if we have any high flyers. We do. Zora is up 13.7% this morning, and it's given back a decent amount. So actually, this candle here did 32%, but it's given back about what I would have to say almost 15% of that. Continuing down on my watch list here, Quant is up 11.5%. That's pretty nice little pop there for Quant. What else do we got here? Uniswap, holding on to these gains. This is what you want to see from a coin that has had a big move to the upside, is you want to see a very limited shed. 26% from that top wick candle, man, that is a decent amount of gains to give back. But the gains that it's looking at since November 4th are 116. So giving back 26 to the market, I don't hate that. I'm still a holder of Uniswap, and this is actually one of the names that I've DCA'd more than any crypto over the last few months, over the last probably 3 to 5 months. So overall, I give you my digest here, but the news is looking like there's another storm cloud, right? Just when the storm cloud leaves the crypto market, another storm cloud finds its way right over the markets. And this time it looks like it's having some sell-off effects in the equities as well. Here's something to remember. Sentiment in crypto is extremely, extremely low. Can it get much lower? Well, 15 is the current fear and greed for Bitcoin. So it can get lower. It can go down to 0 potentially, right? It can go down to single digits. My guess is that because we're in such a bad sentiment moment, it may not take much for us to go ahead and get out of this moment. And now one of the check boxes has been checked. And that's the government opening back up. And although that has not led to a big upswing, this could be the tender box that is going to allow crypto to make the big move to the upside. It just needs that initial flame to ignite the market. Now, we could also be in a world where we have to wait several more months before we see big significant price action. So you need to prepare your portfolio for both scenarios. Do not be investing more than you can afford to lose, and make sure that if you are going down the risk curve and investing in lower cap and mid cap cryptos, that you do understand that that is a much bigger risk than just buying Bitcoin and Ethereum. Not saying that it's a worthless risk or a risk you shouldn't take, but understand that that is a different kind of risk than buying Bitcoin and Ethereum. They're all cryptos, but they are not all the same. All right, we got some comments here, and then we'll get into some bullish news to round out our show here. If you are enjoying morning news, make sure that you smash the like button. It is very important because it helps the algorithm understand that this is something that you value and that other people may value it as well. So go ahead and smash that like button and consider subscribing as well if this is something you enjoy. Got a good morning from Bon 3-Man. Yori said good morning. Good morning, bros, from Bull 2025 only. Thomas said ETH was surging last night. We'll take a look at ETH here. And then Cat in the Hat, who said good morning. Jagger said GM frustrated but hanging on. Tradefly said, Taylor's from Crypto News. What up, brother? What up, Tradefly? Hope you're doing well. Salute Taylor in the chat. Mr. Brian said, we will not have any pump in crypto until middle of next year. New Fed. The current group wants markets to keep slumping. Like I said, there is a chance that we don't see the crypto markets really take off for multiple weeks or months. The question is, what do you do based off of that potentiality? My answer to that is I don't do a whole lot. I continue my DCA schedule, but I do not invest more than I can afford to lose. I believe in this asset class long term. If you don't, that's okay. I would encourage you to continue to research what cryptocurrency is and what blockchain is, specifically Bitcoin and Ethereum, starting with understanding those first as much as you can. And the research that I've done and my team has done has yielded an attitude that I feel very confident in maintaining, which is that long term, these assets are going to be much, much higher in price than they are today. And just because they're moving to the downside now does not necessarily have much to do with how they'll be priced later on. Let's go ahead and jump into some of the bullish news. Seeing some more folks in chat. Thank you all for joining. Man, it's such a blessing to have such an active community. If you're looking for a community that's active, hungry, and winning in the crypto markets, despite of all the downside, and you're wanting to especially learn how to trade, look no further than the link down in the description for the trading community. It's very, very good community where a lot of people are learning. And I would say to folks, man, if you feel like you don't really understand trading and you don't know that you would get much value out of paying for a membership, I would encourage you to think about it a different way, right? Paying for a subscription to an education service, you have a lot more to gain in knowledge than you do in profits in the first phase of your education, right? It's very important. Don't try to buy any kind of educational materials in the financial world and expect that transaction to equal gains, right? In money. Expect that transaction to equal gains in knowledge initially. And that knowledge is so, so important to help you in your investing and trading career. All right, good news. Let's get into it here. There's a decent amount of it. Czech central bank just purchased $1 million worth of Bitcoin and crypto for the first time in its history. I'm curious what other cryptos they bought. Do you guys know yet in the chat? I didn't have time to go down and look into research for that. Grayscale Investments files for IPO. This one is of the crypto ETF issuers for Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana. So good for them. They're going to get a big payday. They're the C-suite for Grayscale. Of course, the government opened back up. That is positive. NASDAQ releases official listing notice for spot XRP ETF. So that is very bullish as well. Last night, U.S. Wall Street heavyweights attended a private dinner at the White House with Donald Trump, New York Stock Exchange, NASDAQ, JP Morgan, BlackRock, Morgan Stanley, and, Goldman Sachs. So lots of bullish news there. Lots of news that is going to make crypto more appealing to a broader variety of investors and really help kind of spread the word, right? Show adoption. There's also one that we didn't talk about, which is that Taiwan is considering adopting crypto. But that headline there with the Czech Republic, or I should say Czech, they have brought Bitcoin into the central bank. That's a very big headline, right? That illustrates to me that despite the ECB chairwoman's promise that there would never be a European central bank that brought Bitcoin into its reserves, despite that promise, the Czech did it. The Czech did exactly what she promised that they would never do. So there are still people in Europe, let me know if you're one of them, who understand how technology works. So that's very, very good. All right, I'm going to leave it there. We've had a really good show today. Some bullish news on the back end, but being faced with the harsh reality that indeed a new storm cloud has come over not just crypto, but the equity markets as well. Risk markets in general are now mulling what it means for the probability of a 25 basis point cut from the Federal Reserve, going down from 71 yesterday down to 56 today. I know that it's something that I'm going to be thinking more about. However, I'm not very discouraged by this because Jerome Powell and it looks like other members of the Federal Reserve are on their way out just months from today. And the lead up into those events of Jerome Powell getting kicked out of the Fed will be bullish for markets in general. Hopefully, it'll be bullish for crypto markets. I'm confident that it will be. Equity markets may also see a nice bid to the upside from that type of a change in the Federal Reserve. However, one thing that I'm paying attention to, and I've been talking about this for weeks, is the rotation out of AI, specifically NVIDIA. If you know anything about AI stocks, you know that NVIDIA has been taking quite a bit of liquidity and taking it all the way to the tippity top of the risk curve. Now, that's because investors are smart. They understand that if you're going to invest in AI, something that's such a big moonshot, you want to have some exposure to the picks and shovels of that industry and of that sector. NVIDIA is the only ones capable of making the current picks and shovels GPUs, advanced GPUs, the Blackwell servers, for selling those to the risk takers in the industry, right? The prospectors, the ones actually going out there with the pickaxe and trying to mine the gold from that industry, so to speak, using some metaphor here. NVIDIA is the tippy top of the risk curve because it's very low risk, very high reward. We want to see investors become confident that NVIDIA won't go much higher. Now, I'm not calling for the doom and gloom of NVIDIA, but what we want to see is that liquidity come out of NVIDIA and spread out across equities, right? And spread out across asset classes over into crypto and other asset classes as well. Share the love, share the liquidity. So far, we have not seen that. We've seen a big rotation of new liquidity into AI stocks. And I, for one, am convinced, along with Mike Novogratz of Galaxy Digital and other analysts, that a big portion of new liquidity coming into risk is going into AI stocks that would have gone into crypto, right? So that's one of the reasons why we've seen a dearth of upside price action, but that is not likely to happen forever. That phenomenon, that diversion. NVIDIA making some movements to the downside would be the first indication that I'm looking for that that liquidity is going to roll out of the tippy top of the risk curve and start to come down into mid and small cap AI plays, as well as on into crypto. Bitcoin somewhere in there as well. I think Bitcoin is playing on a little bit of a different playground than the rest of assets in the US equities and emerging market equity markets. I think mostly this type of a thesis is going to be for crypto, Ethereum, and down on the market cap. So let me know, what do you guys think about that thesis? I'm still very long-term bullish, but my time horizon is quite long. Let me know, what is your time horizon? Are you looking to make a 5, 10, 20x in crypto in the next 3 months? Did you think you'd already be there by now? Let me know down in the comments. I am not shocked at where we are now. I'm a little disappointed at where Total 3 and crypto benchmarks are at this point in the cycle, but I'm not shocked. I'm not shocked at all. In fact, one of the things that I've been anticipating is that the 4-year cycle prophecy, self-fulfilling prophecy, would lead to some major selling in Q4. And I thought that there would be, enough ETF buying and Bitcoin treasury company buying to go ahead and keep prices going higher. Well, it turns out that the longer term whales that have been around for a long time, they are going ahead and parting with some Bitcoin for one reason or another. That's not really knowledge that anybody knows, but we can look at on chain because of the nature of Bitcoin's transparency. We can see that wallets that hold a lot of Bitcoin have been parting with some of that Bitcoin, selling some of that Bitcoin. And that is putting a damper on price because they're adding new supply, or they're adding dormant supply, I should say, not new supply. There's only 21 million supplies of Bitcoin, but they're adding dormant supply back into the market. And so when that happens and demand stays the same or even starts to come down, price is going to come down. So that's what we're seeing. And that's why it's very key that we see Bitcoin's weekly candle continue to close above that 50-week moving average, because that 50-week moving average, even though it's not the end-all be-all, and there's plenty of talented technical analysts who would say it's not the end-all be-all, it is important for more amateur and the broad spectrum of investors to see a candlestick close above that line. So that's what we're watching for, and that's what we're hoping for. That's what we're looking at. So thank you so much for joining. Make sure that you smash the like button and check out our newsletter. Check out Crux of Crypto YouTube channel. And we will be putting out a video today on our main Tim Warren trading channel. Make sure that you check that out as well. And if you are looking for a community to learn how to trade, or maybe you're a very experienced trader and you're looking for a community that doesn't suck, go ahead and check out the link down below. Give us a shot. Give us a try. So many people have joined from other communities and absolutely love it. So many people have joined from other asset classes like Forex or options trading and really like the way that we trade crypto. So come and join us. Come hang out. If you are newer, you have a ton to learn from a very wide pool of experienced traders and investors. And we're going to get through all this together, and we're going to make quite a bit of money as long as we do see a nice bull market at some point. But right now, the Federal Reserve is just making it so hard for that bull market to materialize. All under 30 minutes, folks. This has been a great, action-packed, and very, very fun stream. I hope that you all enjoy it. Smash the like. I'll see you tomorrow.